Hey guys, what's going on? Monday market breakdown. So yeah, month is looking good. You know, this quarter is going to be fiery, honestly, moving forward. Coming back from June. June was a really good month. There was considerably a larger amount of trades than I wanted to take, but we still did end up on 22% for the month. We'll be looking at this month to definitely try beat that. Not too bothered if I don't, but definitely would be on target. So definitely going to learn from last month, try to be a bit more sharp, try to be a little bit more ahead of myself last month, and kind of just work on the bits that areas I could focus on. I didn't really have any missed trades because the trades that were considered as missed, when I kind of looked at them at the end of the month and I realized I wouldn't have wanted to take those, and probably when I did see them I didn't take them for those particular reasons. So was that best trade of the month for me was a trade on Euro GBP, which actually happened to be on the last day. So there was an entry in here, entry in there, and then into the downside. So that was basically it. And yeah, let's jump straight into it. So DXY, we're looking at the US dollar currency right here. And right now we're seeing it definitely on the weekly. We can see that we are coming into this sort of downwards momentum to follow. So I am eyeing this up for the continuation to the downside, understanding that we can still gravitate to the upside, but more than likely we could be coming to the down. What I do like is we're getting this internal 1, 2, 3. Potentially this could be the structure that ends up here to start the sell-off. There is a little bit of a hook point up here that I'm not too concerned about. I will be focusing on this point here just to evaluate how price gets there and what happens. But this is where I'm really interested to be getting involved in the market. What I do like about this is we have 2 clear bottoms, 2 clear tops. This can easily be the area. So between this ray line, this high, if we get the rejection, the push down, you know, things will change dramatically across the board. We'll see things like gold, Euro USD flying through the roof. So keep an eye on that for sure. JP225 still in that no man's territory, trickling, doing its thing. Let it do its thing for however long it needs. You know, if you are looking at this, you know, we're just looking at the high now. We're looking for price to gravitate back up here, and then we just want to see what happens. More than likely, if price does kind of just create them 2 tops, we have to understand that this can work in continuation to the upside, and we might still get more bullish momentum before we see the sell. So patience is very key, but what we need to know is we're trading in all-time high territory. This is extremely good for this pair, but as we know, if we look at previous price, when we broke previous high, what happened? We just carried on going for some time, and we didn't really get that nice push down. So what we were looking for and what we got were 2 different things. What we were looking for was something like this, price to come up here and then kind of just have a nice sell-off, but we didn't get that. So give it some time, let it materialize, and when the time is right, we'll be looking at this pair again. Aussie US dollar. Now, Aussie US dollar is definitely very, very interesting. So we can see that over here we had the larger correction, right? And we came in over here and we got the immediate rejection. Now, I am looking for shorts, but I'm trying to time this well. Going on to the 4 hour to kind of just evaluate this bit of price here, it's just not so clean right now. And I think for that, it's just one that I'm not too interested in just jumping in. Like if we had the push up here, the clear flag and the sell, it could have been interesting. But at the moment, this is just becoming way too corrective. It's becoming its own piece of price now. And you have to ask yourself, like, is this the sort of price action you want to be caught up in compared to some of the other structures and things that you've seen? If you've watched my channel or you know how to trade this particular way, then you know for sure, like then you would be looking at that. But I can't really see anything, so for that reason I'm just going to leave that out. Next one is New Zealand yen. I love New Zealand yen right now, honestly, and I'll zoom out quickly to the daily, where we can see that we have this larger structure, right? It's very clear what we're looking at. 1, 2, 3, 4 into this area, the squeeze, this particular structure over here, ascending into it. We're at the override, but we're stalling, which is actually potentially a good indication that we might just push up, push back down, create head and shoulders, or so forth. So I'm not really interested in the push down and the flag at this point, I'll be honest with you. I am actually more interested in seeing this push above, get its way up here, maybe create a structured approach, I don't know, but let it do its thing, get up here, and then we'll wait and see what happens from there. Take a message from the market is the best way to explain that one, and that's what I'll be doing. So New Zealand yen, not yet ready, but definitely worth having on watch, because if it does turn around and drops off and then creates continuation, then we know what to do. Euro GBP, so We were trading this one last week where we were happened to be able to get 8% out of the market and squeeze it. Came out of the market somewhere around about there. Not too sure if I still have it on the charts. Yep, I do. So we were able to take these 2 entries. I did come out of the market around about here just because we were in this larger area where we could create a larger flag to the downside, and I didn't really want to sit between that. I did make a good decision. On a different day, this could just continue selling off. So sometimes it just comes down to your personal preference. I was happy to walk away with 8% for the week, for the month, add that into the monthly gain, and then move forward with it. So it's just about growth at the end of the day. So we have the override there, we have the 1, 2, 3 into it, and then we had a push down flag continuation, and we're moving in a very good fashion of impulse correction continuation, ICC. So I am looking for this to basically come back up here to fulfill this sort of section and create this larger structure to the downside. How I'll be taking it is still a little bit unknown, because I will be waiting for a bit more at this point. It's so corrective, it's got so much going on. It can aggressively sell off, absolutely. I won't be looking for the immediate risk entry personally, just because we don't have that right approach, unless we kind of just corrected a bit more, came back down, and then we came up with a 1, 2, 3 into it, then I might be entertaining it. But for now, I'll just wait for the insurance entry, be looking for a flag smaller than that, to be fair, a bit tight, and then look for that continuation to the downside. If it's available, it's available. If it's missed, it's missed. It is what it is. Just as long as we're patient enough to wait for these structures, that's what makes us a good trader. EuroCAD. The rest of them are nowhere near ready yet, just still waiting for them to develop. I am looking for something like this, so I'm looking for this to just kind of make its way up here, do whatever it needs to do, maybe go 1, 2, 3, more than likely this will become the middle section to the upside, and then I'll be looking for the short positions. So patience is key, but EuroCAD is shaping up nicely. I've got GA on board. GA, okay, look, so we do come off this very valuable area, which actually lines up with another point down here. We came in with an expanding. We are getting a push down. This is looking more like a larger head and shoulders now, but I'm still not in the area where I want to be to sell. If this dropped off impulsively and we created something down here, for sure, I would look at that and be like, yeah, cool, I will take that. But right now, there's just variations after variations of what I can potentially think could happen. I don't want to be putting my risk on there, especially if I was to trade with a multiple £1 million. I wouldn't be putting my risk in this middle of this sort of corrective price right now. I'll be waiting strategically for the market to show its hand. So I'm going to wait patiently. I know there was a good trade in here, multiple places, but not for me, I'll be honest with you. If you want to look at it in the grand scheme of things now, we did have that internal structure there with pattern separation, but we could also look at this as a larger piece of price. And then, you know, when you look at it like this, do we usually get larger flags like this so soon in the run? Not really, and that's one of the negative consequences why I just don't want to really be in it. So I'm going to leave that for now and let's see if it develops in something larger. GBP US dollar, it's a tricky one to be honest, because we could have got a decent flag down here to continue to the downside, but didn't quite get it. Are we just going to correct and make our way to the high, make a mini M-star sort of pattern, push down, insurance entry, we go? That's what I'm going to be waiting for. Do we get a structured approach into this M-star? It's another thing I could look for. So those are the sort of things that I'm going to be thinking about. Obviously, we do have an expanding. It would never really be a long-term play, but I am looking for this to aggressively sell, potentially back down to this low. As a minimum, maybe we could create something larger and continue to the upside. We have to wait and evaluate. There's not enough data here right now for us to take an entry. So it's still good, and it's definitely worth, in my opinion, having it on your watch list. I just think it just requires a little bit more patience, and then when that's there, boom, you know, we'll be ready to go. Moving on to the wild cards, I've got GBP New Zealand, which I think is phenomenal. So similar to what we saw with New Zealand yen, we have this larger structure, but we have a squeeze into a hook point up here. I wouldn't worry about that massive wick we saw just now. This one over here, I wouldn't worry about that too much. If we did start pushing up aggressively, then okay, fine. We could look at that as a point. I think more so this is the more interesting point. Kept it very simple, stuck a ray line and an alert on it, and I'll just wait for that to be triggered. I am looking for this to come in with a 1, 2, 3 into here, so potentially there could be a little bit more of a sell. The angle hasn't really been confirmed yet, so you could keep evolving it, and it could become something larger. So I would just keep it as, into one of these sort of override points, see if it just kind of taps into that and then rejects, then we might be in the run for the bull cycle there. This could easily not shape up this week. Honestly, this could easily not shape up this week, but I'm more than happy to have it on watch, because there could, if this does start to go bullish and start gravitating to this high, then there may be a continuation to go to the upside. I am more favorable for the short, of course, but if there's a counter trend, for sure, because if I was able to get a decent 1, 2, 3 in there, and he slipped in around about 10 pips, let's just say, and get my tool the right way around, let's see quickly, let's just say that was a push up my flag, even with roughly around about 15, to the high, you're looking at around about 25%, so it's not bad, honestly, if it shapes up. CAD yen, I'm still waiting for structure. I'll be honest with you, I'm still waiting for some structure. It's more than likely we're not going to get this expanding. What we could probably see is, we could see this larger correction over here, get an impulsive push above, catch people out on the wrong side, and then potentially push back down and sell off. There's so many variations, but what I do like about this is the equal spacing scoops, call it a cup and handle, whatever you want. I just like the fact that we're scooping like this and coming back up here. It looks very, very nice and appealing to the way I trade. So I think it's definitely one that should definitely not be neglected for that short if it shapes up. New Zealand CAD, so there was this entry down here, which I was looking at it as basically counter trend. So we have this big corrective move here, then we have potentially this larger sort of section here. As I was looking at this, I was like, okay, cool. We've pushed below the low, we pushed back up, which I'm looking for essentially for the long. As we broke above, we created this flag, and I guess I was contemplating it, but for some reason I just didn't take it. And I think now looking back on it, I think there was more than enough to say this was a very good trade, and then would have taken a reduced risk. I think that kind of eliminates a bit of the risk as well. And yeah, you'd be running around about 3.5%, but in the bigger scale of things, this could actually turn into quite a massive position. Even to this high, this will turn into 10%. But then if we do break through this and then we continue in the same form as that long, and let's just do pole to flag, we take that and we put it on even the break of this. I wouldn't be looking at the break so much, but even with the break, I'm not saying that it's going to come there anytime soon. This could turn into a 76% position, or even a little bit less from here to this high. You could still be looking at roughly around about 66-ish. So I think looking at it like that looks nice. That looks very, very nice. And I think the long position would have been very strategic and smart, but now I'm just waiting for any continuation that can be formed. I was eyeing this little bit of price action up, but I wasn't too convinced with it. It's not my type of entry. I will wait for something. If something shapes up, we'll move with it. But for now, we just have to wait patiently and just see what happens. So this could turn into something a bit messier, a bit larger. We'll have to wait and see. Next one is Aussie New Zealand. Aussie New Zealand, yes, it has come into the low and it rejected. What we can see over here is that when we rejected, we did create this sort of first flag over here. And we're kind of in that breaking area now, but it's not my sort of entry, I'll be honest with you. We did come in quite nice price action as well. I mean, to be honest, it's not a horrible trade. There's nothing horrible about this. I mean, we came in, we rejected, we pushed, we created a flag. Does it come back down again? Does it go back? There's a few variations. I just don't want to be caught up in this. I am looking for the short position, so I am looking to see this potentially come up aggressively. If it doesn't come up aggressively, it's fine. This one's more of a soft watch one. I'm not really bothered about this one so much. It's just with Aussie pairs really selling off, this could just continue to the downside. And if we break the low and start creating continuation, then we'll take a message from the market. But more than likely, if we push back up and create something a little bit larger, like over here, and then we position ourselves, we could be positioned for this long position to go up here with a decent stop loss of around about 10 pips. If I look at it from around about this section here, put in around about 10, which even from current price action, you could probably get away with it. To the high, you're looking at roughly around about 8 to about 10%. So it's still decent, and that could move quite rapid, to be honest, considering we have a big move ahead of us. So I would keep that in mind as just this could shape up and be very, very, very vicious. USD CAD, another stunning pair, honestly. So we were looking at potentially the counter trend, but I think I'm looking at this to potentially go long. But then looking at it now and looking at the DXY, it's just one of those ones where I think it just requires a bit more patience. We could see something larger where it corrects, makes its way back down, pushes back up, we get a 1, 2, 3, and we continue to the downside, which works in line with the long-term perspective of the DXY. However, what I'm truly looking at is this is just a correction to continue, and then we just see price moving, or we see this move here, and then we get something even larger, and then that could make sense too, right? So there's variations after variations of what could be looked at. I think it just requires also a bit more patience. Would you entertain a flag over here? It's a bit risky, I think. I think you could definitely read between that and be like, okay. I'm just not fully convinced of it, and for that reason I'm just going to stay out. It's not my price action. If we were going to go, I would have loved to see this go from here, this to this, and then we come to this low, we reject, move off aggressively, and we work in continuation, but we didn't get that, and for that reason I'm happy to take a step back and just wait. Euro USD, looking at it on the higher time perspective, I'm looking for this to be a larger 1, 2, 3. So if we get a push up, we come back down into this section, then we get a push away with continuation to get formed in for an insurance entry. I'll be looking for that for sure. And then US 100, I think US 100 as well, primed in such a good area. Look, we have this little area over here where we came in twice, rejected aggressively twice, and if we go into the hourly, we can see that we did tap into it. We rejected correctively, but now we've come back in the form of a arc, which I'll quickly try to find that tool. Yep, over here. We came in over here and we created this sort of formation, which I do like, which is now giving it that sort of, do we come back up into this area and then aggressively sell off? So this could be a furious pair as well, and it's definitely one that I'll just keep on watch just in case it shapes up, because it might just turn into a monster of position. Look at it previously, honestly guys, when I see that I'm thinking, wow, you know, tapped into the area, aggressive push off. Okay, we had a strong push away, but there was opportunity, there was really good opportunity in there, and yeah, like, let's just wait and see what happens, guys, honestly. And even if it goes missed, there'll be plenty of opportunity to go with it. We had a similar sort of thing here. We had a corrective push away, we pulled up, and then we came back down. This time I'm looking for the M star. I think we would have probably really looked for it here as well, but there was more than enough. Let's have a wait and see, and then let's just see if the 15 will show. And we can see here when we did get the push away, wouldn't have really been too convinced until that low was cleared, and then I think further on over here we would have created continuation. So I would have looked for an entry around about here if it shaped up. I would have looked to take it something like that. I'll just wait for it. Okay, we'll just evolve that. That's even nicer. And yeah, there was no entry just yet. Oh, okay. This is looking even better than I thought. We do have this section here, which is interesting. I would just wait a little bit more. Usually this tends to be it's possible it just sells off now, but let's wait and see. Oh, there we go, that was entry. Missed it. Right here. Would have looked at it in this area here. This would have been more than enough, and then on the 15 I probably would have banged in the entry right here, right there. And yeah, I would have taken quite a large stop on this, to be fair, around about 55 to be fair, and I would let that play and see how that plays out. I mean, that did run quite aggressively. Perhaps you'd already be out of this 3.5. If you wanted to be pretty relaxed with it, you could be 2, but I think 3. I would keep it here just to be safe with the 1%, because we know the bigger time frame is there, and then you could monitor it like this. And then I think once we've broken, just give it a little bit more time to just kind of do its thing. Okay, at this point here, easily you could just lock in a bit more aggressive. 6.2. I would get a bit more aggressive with that, because you're running what, 12%. Don't want to give too much back. You could lock it in about 8.4 just to be there, but yeah, I think the best management would be around about 10.3. I think with all of those candles being there, you would have just probably said, okay, cool, let's be conservative and lock in 10, because really and truly with all that move, like, there's so much room for it to pull back, and it did. I mean, this will probably continue, but the truth is, when you're running around about 12.5%, you're not going to leave it around about 4%. Even if this did come down and continue, which most probably it eventually did. I mean, there's another entry shaping up here now. Yeah, right about here. You could have entertained your next entry. Well, I would take a little bit more on that, to be honest. That could be easily a loss though. And then yeah, you're in for your next one there. So once again, you're in the trade here. You're running around about 5, 6. I'd probably lock in around about there. 3.7. Give it some time. Yeah, and you'd be out. So you know, easily you'd be in there for a decent trade. And then yeah, over a period of time, you've capitalized. You've made a lot of money, and you're thinking, wow, you know, I'm quite happy that was a bit aggressive with the management there, because I would have given away too much. Anyway, guys, no, it's not a backtesting video, but just yeah, going through that, it looks pretty good. Obviously, any tips for this week, I would say obviously go back, look over your charts. If you haven't done much pattern recognition testing, definitely something to be doing this week, because there's a few good pairs shaping up, and you know, they can get a little bit more complex at times. So getting your pattern recognition skills on point is definitely going to help you. Definitely getting into your routines is definitely going to help you as well. So that's basically the biggest thing I would say that you need to focus on this week, is, you know, focusing on your routines, making sure that, you know, you're not only trading and preparing for your trading, but you're doing other incremental things that are helping you get closer to being the trader you want to be. So if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to reply to you in the comments below. And yeah, have a good week, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video.